What's up, everybody? I'm Brian Wayne, and welcome to episode 25 of the Cheers to Comics podcast. This week, I'll be going over all of the books that were released on the 3rd of April, 2019, as long as discussing everything else relative to the world of comic books. So, quick heads up, there will be spoilers and definitely language. So if you're cool with all of that, then grab yourself a drink and let's talk comics. But first, let's talk about what I'm drinking this week. And I'm keeping it Colorado local again. This time it's called Lava Lake. It's a wit. It's a spiced wit. So, you know, as far as wits go, being that's what I usually drink, I enjoy it thoroughly. Engineer Mason, do you enjoy this Weir's Beak? This Weir's Beak?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad.
Would you like to try that again?
This week's beer?
All right.
Okay, cool.
Are we keeping that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, totally. I like that it has a fox.
All right.
But it's also very, very delicious, and I will be buying this again for sure. So, what was the name of the company again? Crazy Mountain Brewing Company.
Yeah,
out of
Edwards and Denver.
Right on. Right on. It's got like a funny little quote about fox-like things and stuff. I'll put up a thing. But yeah, no, so this is what the podcast will be fueled by this week. By no means are they sponsoring us. This is just what stood out to me in the case, that's all. So, let's get on with the news. Small week for news. I couldn't really find a whole bunch until just last night. I saw a funny little tweet that enticed me. Good old Rob Liefeld. Doing his thing where he talks like he does. And so, we all know Major X a thing now, and he could not be more proud. And we all know about this. Well, somebody went on to explain that the actual first appearance of Major X doesn't take place in Major X. The first appearance of Major X takes place in on a variant cover of Deadpool number 10. And Rob Liefeld will confirm that there is a cameo appearance. The first time we see Major X is on that cover. Others, on the other hand, will argue that a book that came out a week earlier featured in a back panel Major X, and that book is Spider-Man Deadpool number 47. Liefeld went on to Twitter to exclaim, and he was pretty much just one... almost all caps is how it came off. But he went off the handle to pretty much say that it's blasphemous that anyone would feature or consider this to be the first appearance of Major X. And I'm talking about the Spider-Man Deadpool 47. And went as far as to exclaim that if you bring this book to him to sign, he will completely refuse to sign it. It's not bad enough that he charges between $40 to $100 per signature as is, when a lot of other artists only charge $0. So, I know it kind of sounds like not necessarily how I start a purely positive podcast, but some fart sniffers just kind of need shut the hell up sometimes. And, you know, if that's fine. I don't agree that, you know, that's necessarily the first appearance, but just, man, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, man. And I just don't like how he says a lot of stuff. And I may sound like the typical Liefeld hater, and Liefeld probably means more to me as a creator than almost anyone else, because he was really the first person I discovered, like him and Jim Lee. Like, Cable was what got me into comics, and Liefeld made Cable. No Cable, I never saw Jim Lee's drawing. That got me into it. So Liefeld for the longest time was, I praised him. Anybody that came off like I just did, you know, no, that's not how you talk about him. That was knocking him on the head, not stroking their so I wouldn't you know what I'm trying to say. But until I joined Twitter, actually, is when I realized how much he really gives no credit to anybody else in this book. Like, he's going on. So there was even a tweet where someone who's clearly a Liefeld fan, and I don't hate you for it, but they were like, "Oh, finally a Marvel book that's good." I kind of took that for what it was, and he actually went so far as to retweet it to say, "Understatement of the year, dog." Like, that's doing your company wrong, because there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of titles since you've quit Marvel. So I don't know, man. I just quiet down, Liefeld. I'm reading your book, and we'll talk about it later. I'll tell you how I really feel about it. Let's talk about the overviews, though. Once again, these are the books that came out on the 3rd of April. The year is 2019 still. So, it's actually a pretty modest week, and I'm okay with that. Only one indie book this week. I will start out with indies, and this is not a publisher that I've ever spoken of before, at least to my recollection. We got Nickelodeon throwing out some comic books. Kaboom is actually like the sub-publisher, I believe, is how you would say that. Well, that's definitely how you say it, but yeah. So anyways, Rocko's Modern Afterlife, #1. So I think this is going to be a 4-part miniseries. Rocko's Modern Life was a big part of my childhood. It was kind of like my Ren and Stimpy. Like, I as a kid, I wasn't a huge fan of Ren and Stimpy until I got older, but Rocko's Modern Life was kind of like a dulled down version. At least that's how I perceived it to be. And I just liked the characters more. And so I went into this hesitant, excited but hesitant, because for one, like I said, it's such a big part of my childhood, it's easy to be let down. So I opened this book, and I was immediately like, I opened it up, and I sat back and I just smiled, because this looks like Joe Murray directed this book. Joe Murray being the creator of Rocko's Modern Life. And it starts out with Mr. Bighead, your funny little frog, screaming at Rocko, bumped into him in the street. Actually, Bighead bumped into Rocko in the street. And Bighead's looking at a news article, like he's reading some whatever. And he bumps into him, and he screams at Rocko. He's like, "Well, if you would have had the People Avoid app, you wouldn't have bumped into me." It's a digital world. And that's kind of seems to be the basis of where this story is. And this is a zombie apocalypse story involving technology. And this is how I always presume the zombie apocalypse would actually start, is because people would pretty much zombify themselves. So check this out. During Big Head's ranting and ravings and whatnot, we get this zombie come up, and he just he bites Mr. Big Head in the frickin' neck, and he's a zombie now. And this starts off our world. And we go 2 weeks later. Rocko and Spunky are locked up in their house, and as Rocko's words, could not be happier. There's no 9-to-5 hustle. There's no having to worry about a job or paying bills, being anywhere. It's not necessarily a release of responsibility. It's also a release of technology. There's no he is much easier to separate himself from it. Technology is still very existent in this, and I'll get to that more in a second. But it's just so much easier now for Rocko to separate himself. So after 2 weeks, he's, just kind of carrying on. Zombies are trying to break in. He's keeping them out with boarded windows or whatever. It's just he and Spunky locked up. Well, now it's time for old Hef to join in. And Hef was always my favorite. Like, he's what sold me on the cartoon. Because he was your Ed of your Ed, Ed, and Nettie. Like, your Patrick of your SpongeBob. Like, those are the characters I always enjoyed. And I'll be damned if he is not Hef in this book. So Hef is actually a video game streamer now. And this is how he's pretty much keeping occupied. He's, for 2 weeks now, we've had a zombie apocalypse, and Hef, he gets a hold of Rocko, finally. Even they were kind of a little bit of a plot hole. They went so long without talking, and finally after 2 weeks, they're like, "Oh, maybe we should see if each other's alive." And they even admit, like, "I was wondering." Whatever. It's a cartoon. I love it. It's a comic book. It's a comic book based off a cartoon, so shut up. So Hef is pretty much, he's like, well, check it out. You're running low on supplies. Watch how I do this. Skrrr, puts it out to all of his streamers. He's like, send a care package to this address. And he puts in Rocco's address. Meanwhile, Rocco's like, I don't think I want my my address on the internet there, bub. Doesn't matter. Drone comes in. But as the care package of the drone comes in, Rocco doesn't accept it. He doesn't open his door. Well, the drone is not going to leave until it delivers his package. So what it does is it actually flies through the window and breaks the window. Well, when there's a zombie apocalypse going outside, it's a fucking problem. So then we get Mr. Big Head coming in again, and he's going to bite Spunky. But if you watch throughout all of this, you see that Spunky's wrapped in bubble wrap for most of this. And I missed it at first. I had to go back because there was a legit moment where I thought Spunky fucking died. I really did. I thought Spunky died. Thankfully, the bubble wrap was there. So when Mr. Big Head goes to bite him, and then we have this falling out between Hef and Rocco just for a moment. He was like, your drone kind of like almost made Spunky die. And Hef's like, if we could count all the times that Spunky almost died, we'd have a lot of money or a lot of numbers. Cause I said that funny. Anyway, so in the meantime, Hef's like, well, you know what? I'm kind of sorry I did this. Why don't I just like, here's last week's stream I put out if you're bored or whatever. Here's something for you to do. Here's some technology. This is what I've been doing. So Rocco sits, they part their ways. Rocco sits down to watch this, and there's a moment in the stream where Hef actually admits that he's lonely. And you realize there was actually a point in time where Rocco's like, well, what about your parents? And he's like, oh, they've been in the room for like 2 weeks now, like just shuffling around, moaning like parents do. And, well, I forget what the catalyst is, but Rocco and, I forget. Also during this stream that Hef is showing him just so happens to be a stream based off of a zombie survival game. So it's kind of Hef's way of saying, watch this, and not only will you be entertained, but you might learn a couple of things on account of the zombie apocalypse that's really going on. So he's like, oh, use a remote to do so and so, and like throw it at the forehead, and like it's great. There's no way I could do this scene justice. So the two reconnect. Rocco's like, Hef, like, what's going on? And Hef's like, oh, I found my parents. And he was like, I probably should have checked on them sooner because they were all kinds of infected. And you see him and he's got all these bite marks on him and everything. And he's like, did you get bitten? He's like, oh, not a big deal. The first few bites didn't even break the skin. We see where we're going. Now it's Rocco to go save Hef. Hef's about to turn into a zombie. We can't let that happen. Well, there's also a main character I was hoping would be introduced in this that we haven't mentioned yet. Remember Philbert, the turtle? Well, he's still very much alive. Rocco attempts to call Philbert. Philbert picks up, and he's like, so it turns out this Hooks Labs is possibly working on this cure. So if you can get to Hef and get him to Hooks Labs, we might have a thing happening here. Well, that's where our story leaves off, is Rocco driving in the car and outrunning zombies with Spunky in the front seat, just being like a dog. And it's Rush to save. Yeah. So that's the gist of the story. And I couldn't. It's a zombie book. It's a cartoon. I don't know what you could expect out of this. It's got all the characters I love. It gave me Mr. Big Head immediately in his big heady ways, waving arms flailing like you do. You see that? That's exactly what it felt like in the fucking book. And to all the listeners, you did not see that. But you get the gist. Hef was more, like I said, very, very Hef. I can hear, as I'm reading this, I can hear the voices in my head of these characters. And it tells me, and it takes a good writer to deliver the dialogue properly. Because there's things that Rocco wouldn't say to make me, that if he were to write that, wouldn't make me hear the voices properly. So these guys, they did their work. That's as far as the writing goes. By the way, that's Anthony Birch. Now, as far as the art team, Matteo DeMille and Francesco Segala. This is Francesco Segala's first comic book. And cartoons, the colors got to be proper. At least for me. That's what draws me into a cartoon. Bright, vivid colors. It's hard to have bright, vivid colors in a zombie apocalypse book. That's what makes Francesco Segala the next up-and-coming color artist that I feel is going to be a favorite. Like, he's This IDW is next to pick him up from Nickelodeon. There's it's brilliant, and the line work in itself, like Mateo De Meo's, I probably said that name wrong. The art, it looks like they're pulled from the cartoon. It's drawn perfectly. It's beautiful, but the colors though, like for your first comic book, like cheers guys. So that's that. I think I've gushed enough about Rocko's modern life. I haven't gushed enough, but I'm gonna stop anyways. Yeah, let's carry on, shall we? Like I said, only one indie book this week. I purchased a few, but I'm not currently caught up enough to be able to talk about them properly. Those we'll talk about later, somewhat. So I'm gonna move into Marvel now. Kind of change up the order just a little bit. It was a very Marvel heavy week, so I'm just gonna throw all that in the middle. And I'm going to start out with my most anticipated book of 2019. And it's really the lead-in to the most anticipated story of 2019. And that's going to be War of the Realms. It has finally started. I talked about the prelude in Thor. I think it was Thor 11. But it's here. And you would think that it'd be like a slow start. Let's all just like, a little bit of world building. And Jason Aaron's been building the world for 3 years. There's no reason to start slow. And he doesn't. He doesn't. So, Jason Aaron, Russell Dalterman, and Matthew Wilson killing the interiors. I'm just going to get down to it. Oh boy, it starts out brutal. Death, immediately. Odin sits upon his throne, and what's left of Asgard. Asgard has been thrown into the sun, except for just a little bit of it. And that's the part that Odin's sitting on. All he wants to do is take a forever nap. But he can't, knowing what's to come. This war. So as he closes his eye to take a sleep, like I said that, closes his eye, he opens it up, senses that there's badness coming. There's badness coming indeed. Dark elves. Dark elves already in the mix, invading what's left of Asgard. Go up to Odin. He's no match. Knife to the gut. That's how this book starts. Odin, knife to the gut, seemingly dead. Let's transfer over to Thor now. We're back on Midgard. We're at the Newark Harbor. Him and his trusty doggy, Thori, they're pondering the doom that is to come. Thor's not super confident based on the fact that he doesn't have Mjolnir. He does have an arsenal of hammers, but it's not Mjolnir. And the Rainbow Bifrost is broken. Without the Rainbow Bifrost or Mjolnir, he can't get to Malekith before Malekith and his army gets to Midgard. Thor is more than confident that he could take out all of them on his own. He just needs to get there before he gets there, because he can't necessarily prevent any casualties once they get there. So he needs to fight them on their territory is what his thing is. Fact is, that ain't gonna happen. That's what this story is about. So as he's pondering, thinking to his head, Thori's sitting there. Thori talks, by the way. And why Master said, Thori fetch beer, Thori fetch troll for Master to smite. Thori is like Dog Hulk, pretty much, but a god's dog. I love it. Thori's... There's been so many amazing animal creations. Like, we got Jonathan the honey badger, Jeff the land shark puppy, Thori. Good stuff. Well, I'm just talking about like within the last like 9 months.
Oh wow.
Or okay, maybe we're like 18 months. Throg's been around a bit, but yes, no, I do love. Yeah. Well, as they're pondering, Loki crashes from the sky, and Thor was like, "Where have you been, you coward? Like, what the hell?" Loki's like, "Check it out. He's coming. He's coming. My trickery didn't work. He actually tricked me before I could trick him. So y'all is fucked. Sorry, I tried." Thor's like, well, if you just came from him, then you could take me back, so you should do that. Thori, go warn the Avengers. Shit's about to go down. Thori, warn the Avengers. You get your beautiful bickering between Loki and Thor that we're so used to. The brotherly, fuck you, I haven't seen you in so long. I love you, but I hate you type of whatever. And eventually, Loki's like, all right, I'll take you to see Malekith. We got this. Goes to see Malekith. The thing is that Loki doesn't take him to where he thinks he's going. I think the realm that Malekith dwells in, I think it's called Sveltenheim. Can never say it right. But he takes him to Jotunheim instead, and Jotunheim is where the Frost Giants dwell. That's Loki's crib. They get there, and Thor's like, brother, you son of a bitch, you tricked me again. This is... I don't want to deal with the Frost Giant King. I want to deal with Malekith. Loki's like, oh, well, you know, it just turns out I've been honest the whole time because Malekith is here. Recruiting giants. So, well, we get this... You see Malekith and Thor stand down face to face within the first 12 pages of this story, and you're like, is this gonna go down right now? Like, before, what the fuck's going on here? And Thor's like, oh, dog, I would kill you. And Malekith's like, oh, dog, you don't even know. And then we just cuts away.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I was like, what? Spider-Man. Yep. We're back in Midgard, in the Bronx. Spider-Man's a swinging, thwip, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, spider senses. Oh shit, there are some Asgardians on that roof. Well, if you've been following any of the story, being that Asgard is not a thing, that doesn't necessarily mean the Asgardians are wiped out. A lot of them have taken a safekeep in the Bronx, and I forget what they actually call their whatever, but the fact is that the majority of the remaining Asgardians, other than the Asgardians of the galaxy out fucking around, are down in the Bronx chilling, just kind of like, we're Asgardians in the Bronx, check out my gear, because they don't even bother to change clothes or whatever. But, so, the thing is these Asgardians, well, it's not necessarily Asgardians yet. It's Lady Freya, Thor's mom, the All-Mother, fighting, I want to say, three Dark Elves. Dark Elves are in Midgard. Boom. This is what we got here. There's so much, like, you think, the way they transfer, like, oh, she's just fighting some Dark Elves. We're like, wait a second. Lady Freya is fighting Dark Elves in front of Spider-Man in the Bronx. When did this is happening. Like I said, no fucking around. This is just, the war has begun. Well, as Spider-Man comes down, Lady Freya's like, oh shit, my son has told me all about you, Spider-Boy. You should tell me where Thor is, because I can't find him. And Spider-Man's like, well, I don't know. And then through the door busts a few more Asgardians. And I'm going to correct myself. And I purposely fucked that up. 2 Asgardians, and brace yourself, Jane fucking Foster with a goddamn sword, dude! Jane Foster and Lady Sif and what's her name? Oh shit. I'll think of it in a second. The fact is that they come busting through the door, and they whoop these elves at this point, like, hands down. The way that Jason Aaron has been alluding the story of Jane Foster, like, we got towards the end of the prelude, when the doctor tells Jane, like, you ain't got no cancer no more, and she's like, say word, that's all you get. And now all of a sudden she's got a sword already teamed up with Lady Sif and I can never remember her name. It starts Hildegard. That's what I wanted to say. Madrigrid. I knew that was wrong. That's not even a thing. So yeah, no. So that big old brutin lady. God, I'm sorry. I'm so excited for this. This book, I've been so hyped, and it's delivers everything. And that's that. Let's just cut away from that for a second. And now we get 4 little quick panels, like, meanwhile, back at the ranch, these heroes still exist. We go to the Sanctum Sanctorum. We see some green light flickering about. You know what that is. Doctor Strange he's Doctor Strangein'. Then we cut over to Hell's Kitchen with Daredevil afoot and looking over his city, and he was like, this is just like how things used to be. For a second. And then we get Logan sipping a beer like he does. And where's he at? I forget. And then we get the Punisher. He's when you see the Punisher, he's already got like a room. He's in a room full of like dead bodies and everything and getting ready to blast someone else. And then what it is them just referring to the moment that shit's going down. This is where these 4 are at the time the 9/11 of comics happens. And this is it.
Did you just say that?
I did. And Malekith and his army invades. They are officially on Earth. And time to fight. Punisher looks out. He blasts the guy that he was getting ready to blast to begin with, and he looks up and he just sees a frost giant staring him in the window. And all right, this is what's more exciting to me than anything is I can't recall my favorite. Jason Aaron is my favorite writer. I can't recall any time that he's ever written dialogue for the Punisher, for Daredevil, or for Logan. I've heard him write Doctor Strange. He's a bench warmer in the Avengers, so I know how he feels about Strange. But these three, I was so excited to see how Jason Aaron would give these guys his voice, react in this situation. Like I said, like hell is breaking loose. And I could not be more pleased with how they all reacted, and they carry on. Meanwhile, Iron Man's flying, the Avengers are there. Thor did his doggy duty, and he didn't doggy paddle there. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So the Avengers are there. They're fighting hell. They're back to back with the Asgardians. And, like, if that's not cool enough for you. And they're all just kind of, like, giving each other shit. They're like, what the... That's not how... Because, I mean, when you think of the Avengers, you don't think of She-Hulk, Blade, Black Panther, and, like, this is a very new Avengers team. So, yeah. The bystanders are like, what the shit? Well, and then you get the face down. You see Malekith and his army approach the guys that are down on the battlefield at this point in time. And then we cut over to a scene with the Frost Giant King and his boy Loki. And while all that's going on, Loki's pretty much just forced to watch. So you know that Loki has been transported from the spot along with Malekith, where the whole, like, Thor, Malekith face-to-face, like, what the shit just happened, showdown happened, whatever. Loki's forced to watch all of this helpless. Meanwhile, his daddy's got him in his hand, and he's like, oh, you are a shit son, and you're, like, my biggest disappointment, and I'm gonna kill you. And then Malekith jumps out with his white tiger, and what he does, he's like, not if I get him first. Nobody likes Loki. He's fucked over so many people. Like, everyone just wants that kill on their belt. So as Malekith's getting ready to throw down, like, remember I talked about Strange and he hasn't shown up yet? Shows up, saves Loki from Malekith, but not from his daddy. Death number 2. The Frost Giant, the Frost Giant eats his fucking son. Just eats him. Num num num. I'll show a better, yeah. Oh my god. Loki's dead. And now, if there were ever a point for Thor to show up, this would be it, right? Cue the Thor. Comes in, guns blazing. Bring me more Frost Giants, Malekith. I can handle all of this shit on my own. I've got an arsenal of hammers. Fuck a Bifrost. Fuck a goddamn Mjolnir. Bring it. And that's how the book ends. That is how you set up a major Marvel event. Because this almost felt like it could have been like issue 5 of the 6-part series. Like, that's how... Above and beyond. Above and beyond. So, moving along, more Marvel. It's probably going to speed up a little bit more now, because these are great stories, but just not as much to touch on. So, let's go to what a lot of people exclaim to be Marvel's best book right now. Arguably. Immortal Hulk number 16, Legacy numbering 733. Al Ewing, Joe Bennett, Roy, Jose, and Paul Mounts, the normal artistic team. Alex Russ still doing the covers. Gotta love it. So this book, I look at it as a lot of filler until the very end, and you get an oh shit moment. And god damn, isn't an oh shit moment. So, let's talk about it. Starts out in Arizona. We've got old Jackie the reporter. Well, I guess it doesn't start there. It starts at Shadow Base Site B. And you see all these gamma testings going on. And once again, we get a third-person narration. We don't know who this is. I can guess. I'm pretty sure I guessed right. I'm just going to go ahead and say Rick Jones. Rick Jones is narrating this story. So in the last issue, we think that Doc Samson is being taken by the Hulk to go find Betty, who got shot in the head. Hulk knows better. Hulk know Betty, possible Red Hulk Red Hulk take bullet, head jump through wall, no problem. No neat reason to go find her corpse. The real corpse that we need to track down is Rick Jones. And that's because it's missing. Now, I'm probably going to tell you this story out of order the way it's actually told, just because it jumps back and forth. The fact is that Rick Jones' corpse has been taken by the Men in Black. Like, literally the Men in Black. For, what do they say? It's for whatever reason. I don't know. They know that Rick Jones has connections to the Hulk being the first person, blah, blah, blah. You all know the story. I can go, if I tried to explain it to you, it'd just take way too long. So, meanwhile, the Hulk and Samson, they're making their way using the clues they do. They go into Shadow Base Site A, thinking that, alright, this is probably where he's at. They open the door, bunch of Gamma monsters attack. So we get Doc Samson and Hulk face down with a bunch of Gamma monsters. Then we go back over to Jackie. She's at the scene where Betty Ross, his body isn't. And they're going over evidence, and they find the only piece of evidence they find is this feather. And then you see this winged, I'm assuming Gamma creature, standing in the distance, peering all 1980s horror movie like. And then we go back to the Hulk and Samson whooping that ass, and back to action, and there's it's incredible. But turns out inside this place it was a trap. They weren't going to find Rick Jones after all. They were going to find that son of a bitch that's been secretly hunting them throughout like the last 2 or 3 issues, Agent Burbank. It's a trap. They set him up, and Burbank has a gun that is able to weaken the Hulk, and it's a solar gun, I guess. And if you guys know what the hell's going on with the Hulk, sun bad for Bruce Banner, or for Hulk night, Bruce Banner day. So a solar gun would naturally make Bruce Banner come out. The only way the Hulk comes out in the day is if it is a dire emergency. So at this point, I guess the Hulk doesn't sense that's what it is. So Burbank turns him into Bruce, and Bruce goes running. He gets shot. So flesh wound as Bruce, possibly fatal at this point, maybe, depending on the ammunition used. We don't know. Well, we turn the corner, and you see Burbank. He's like, oh, I'm coming to get you. And Bruce is like, well, that'd be cool and all, you know, since you want to kill Bruce Banner, but I'm not Bruce. I'm Joe. End of story. So, I can tell you what that means. Joe Fixit. Grey Hulk. That's what's going on here. This has not been Bruce Banner talking to Samson. This is Joe Feckin' Fixit. Al Ewing is touching on all of this Hulk lore. Like, I would not be surprised if Al Ewing, within 5 issues, gives us a World Breaker Hulk, or World War Hulk, or fucking any other amazing Hulk story there is to be given, because he's giving it all. Like, we're pretty sure that Betty Ross is going to turn into the Red Hulk at some point in time, given by the fact that the scene of the crime has a giant hole through a wall, where only a Hulk-like, well, not necessarily only, but easily a Hulk-like creature could have made, and with gamma feathers in the background. So there's all that, and and then once again, Grey Hulk, Joe Fixit. I don't know what any of this means. You're not supposed to know. That's the point of why everybody loves this story so much, I guess. There's always a lot to be. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and always left off at the end of every issue. There's always a oh shit moment. So far, at pretty much all 16 issues of Al Ewing's comic, Joe Bennett's been pretty much drawing the whole time. Couple guest artists, but that's besides the point. The fucking art is spectacular, and I hear a lot of people exclaiming that Joe Bennett may be Marvel's best interior artist. For one, just based off of, it probably has a lot to do with the the beats that Ewing's giving him, obviously. Like, when you're given that type of stuff, when you get a story like this, more than likely these beats are super fucking detailed. And it's not like Ewing going, hey, check it out, draw Bruce Banner separating from the Hulk. No, I'm sure he's like, draw Bruce Banner separating from the Hulk in a way that would be perceived in like a 1978 horror movie with no such thing as CGI, but also make it extremely terrifying. I'm just giving an example of the notes that the artist is probably getting, because just based off of the detailed storytelling. Fact is, this is a highly acclaimed book. I dig it. I dig it quite a bit. I don't know if it's Marvel's best book. Definitely their most different, though, and I will give that, so I can understand why a lot of people give it the praise that it does get. Moving along. Deadpool number 11, Legacy 311. Scotty Young, Scott Hepburn, Ian Herring. So we are coming to the end of the run of Deadpool Scotty Young. I'm going to mention this every time there's a Deadpool comic because I have a feeling this is a big deal. Scotty Young wouldn't quit Deadpool unless something bigger is coming on account of how good of a job he's doing with Deadpool. On the other, I dig what Scott Hepburn and Ian Herring has been doing, filling in for Nick Klein. But this is a Scotty Young, Nick Klein book, so I'm kind of looking forward to that happening. I know Nick Klein's going to round out their run. It's not going to be a reboot. I don't think they'd reboot after only 15 issues. It's just going to be a creative difference, or a creative change in the team, is what I'm trying to say. Fact is I think for the first time in the series, we're getting a continuous arc. Most, like the first 9 issues have been all like one-shots. For the most part, all fun, but in the last issue we got some badassery, some shittiness happening. We got, what's his name, old Goodnight. He's pretty much, he was at every spot Deadpool should have been throughout whatever, like taking his merc credit, and still he's not doing it for the money. He's just kind of giving a sign, like every time Deadpool would show up to stab someone, they were already stabbed and then some, and there'd always be this insignia of Goodnight. Well, the end of issue 10, Goodnight captures Deadpool, has him imprisoned. Here we are in issue 11. This is essentially just a massive origin issue of Goodnight. And it comes down to Deadpool killed his mommy and daddy, and when the cops showed up at the scene of the crime, what's his pre-Goodnight name? I'll get to it in a second. Frank. He's standing there as I'm going to say 11-year-old with a sword, and his parents halved. Both of them halved. He's got four parents with him and a sword. So he gets tried. Not as an adult, though, so he kind of gets off easy. So that's why he later on it shows him, like, I'm an adult now, I'm not in jail. Fuck Deadpool. He comes across this mysterious hooded figure. Is like, check it out, dog, I'm gonna teach you something. And this Frank feller, he's like, what is there not to learn from a mysterious hooded figure? Let's do this. And well, they go through training and ninjaing and what it takes to kill Deadpool. And then we realize that this hooded figure turns out to be Weasel. And Weasel's like, dog, I'm betraying the fuck out of Deadpool. I went to hell, and I've literally been through hell. Deadpool did me wrong. We'll get to that later. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you how to defeat Deadpool. Like, follow me to hell real quick, Frank. And they go to hell. After, like I said, it's a pretty fucking awesome, like, Rocky, like, montage scene. Only just picture this Frank feller with a weird hooded figure. I don't know. Then they go see Mephisto, and Mephisto's like, oh, you mine now, bitch, and we gonna beat Deadpool, and blah blah blah. And then it goes back to where we are with Deadpool being held captive, imprisoned. And this is the beautiful thing about a Deadpool comic, is Deadpool's like, dude, if there's one thing I know about how to fuck up, it's talking too much. And while you were going on and on and on and on and on about Martha and all that shit, I got healed. I got healed real good, curse sploosh. I'm gonna take your mace from your hand, make it a part of your brain, and that's how the book ends in the most Deadpool-y of ways. And so, and there will be a third part to this arc, I'm certain. But I have a feeling that Good Night will actually be a continuous character. Probably not the strongest issue out of the 11. Still very, very enjoyable. Not as Deadpool-y just because of the lack of Deadpool, because he doesn't really come in until the very end. But when he does, it's very Deadpool. And I've seen a couple of well, since I've been back into comics, I've read 2 volumes of Deadpool now. One of them being obviously Scotty Young's. And who was the feller that was doing them? Jerry Duggan. Haha, I didn't even have to make you look that up, Mason. Jerry Duggan. His run was very, like, I felt Deadpool's voice for sure. Like, you could sense Ryan Reynolds' tone and all of that. Scotty Young, though, it's not just Deadpool's voice that's so Deadpool. It's the type of stories that Deadpool's involved in. So I am going to see, or be sad to see the story end. But part of me is also very, very, very excited. Because once again, I'm going to go back to the fact that Nick Klein and Scotty Young would not be quitting this book if it wasn't for something way, way cooler. Which I asked them, and they did reply. And they said, I wish I could tell you, but go fuck yourself. But not in those words, but just how I would say it. So, yeah, no. I think the even more intriguing thing beyond what Scotty Young and Nick Klein will be doing is who's going to be taking over Deadpool. So, that's my spiel on Deadpool, number 11, 311. Moving on to Major X. Number 1. Rob Liefeld, and I'm surprised he even allowed the other name on this cover, but Romulo Fajardo Jr. did get credit as the color artist, so kudos, Liefeld. I think Liefeld, do you agree, Mason, that I can allow Liefeld be the only thing that I say that's not purely positive, and as long as I just keep that boundary? Just Liefeld, I can't do it, man. He's such an ass. Are you okay with that?
I will say that he is not humble.
He's not. So let's talk about Major X. I will say one thing. He's making money, man. He is
making money.
People are very, very excited about this book, and I won't hate on them. I won't hate on them for it. I understand why people would be excited about that book. They're probably not on Twitter. I feel like it's 1995, and we got Rob Liefeld discovering the X-Force. Fact is, I don't see a whole lot of improvement in his steez. The fact is, it just makes it that much more Liefeld. So I'll give him credit for that. I'm so sorry. I gotta find something good to say. I will say with this book is going to play a huge part in what happens in the Marvel the mutant happenings, because as we all know, we've got the whole X-Men debauchery and all of the miniseries. We got 25 issues of a miniseries happening there. Meanwhile, we got Matthew Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men, which is fucking fantastic. We'll talk about that in a second. But it all kind of ties together. It's all, well, now we got Major X. Now, unfortunately, it was all spoiled before the book came out because of fucking variant covers. But Major X has his foot, that's right, Rob Liefeld foot on Cable's face. And Beast comes flying out and he's like, no, you can't do that. And alright, I'm going to run this down real quick. Major X is from the future. He's there to save Cable. Cable is the future's only hope, the mutant's only hope for whatever reason. Now, if you've been reading any previous X-Men shit, we know that Cable be dead and he died in a whole thing, and we've got young Cable now. Well, this is like regular S, like Cable as we know him, Cable, and so, and in the era that Cable as we know him, Cable would be alive. So there's a lot of time traveling going on here. Fact is, they don't distinguish what the times are during all of this, which I find frustrating, but if once you read it through, I think you're like, okay, I get it. I think it would just matter of a little caption like in the year 2525 would have helped. But we get the scuffle between Beast, Major X, and Cable. Beast doesn't realize that Major X is there to help. Before everything goes through, all of the sudden, fucking Wolverine shows up because Rob Liefeld's got to draw Wolverine, and he's like, "No, Major X, fight you." And Beast is like, "No, Wolverine, I'm gonna hold you back because I was just fighting him." And Cable's like, "No, Major X, bam, I'm gonna blast you in the back of the head because I don't like it when you put your foot in my face." And then Deadpool shows up. Deadpool is good job. It's so easy to describe that it's hard to describe. It's Deadpool if he and Cable looked. It's Cable. It's Deadpool with shoulder pads. Mason, look at that, dude. It's Deadpool. That's Deadpool. This book is going for $30 an issue because of the first appearance of Deadpool. Dog. If that's not a reach, I don't.
It is Deadpool with shoulder pads.
That is the most Rob Liefeld reach I've ever seen in my life. Like, that is. Then Domino and Shatterstar show up because they're like, blah 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 blah. I want some, and then Deadpool shows up because why the fuck not? And then Deadpool's like,
wait,
hey,
Deadpool and Dreadpool.
Deadpool and Deadpool. Deadpool is fighting Deadpool. Major X is like not trying to be fought by everyone else, meanwhile still shooting at everyone else. And then I will say,
Can I be negative?
hold on. I want to say something positive real quick. Deadpool, in the most Deadpool-y of ways, has Dreadpool up against the wall, and he was like, "Slade, is it you?" Totally acknowledging the fact that Rob Liefeld ripped off Slade Wilson from, Deathstroke. Your turn.
All I was gonna say is, like, that description and what you were showing me with the pages honestly sounded like a child bashing their toys together.
This is how it's written, dude. I am barely, what do they call it when, summing shit up. Like, I'm pretty much telling you this page by page, like how it comes in.
I saw.
You can confirm.
Yo, can't confirm.
Oh, and guess what? Deadpool takes off his, or not Deadpool, Major X takes off his helmet. Guess who he is? Remember, like I said, he's Cable's, son? He's Alexander Nathaniel Summers. Where did he come up with that unique name? Can you make things any more fucking confusing for us, Rob Leaf? I'm so sorry. I think this is on the 25th fucking episode, I finally lost it.
Oh, this is where you crack?
Dude, man, shame on. Cool, right on. Congratulations. No, you know what? Good on you, dude. Good on you. You're back. People are buying your stuff. I'm not gonna tell people that don't buy it.
No, absolutely not.
But I don't like how this character is clearly going to be such a pivotal part of reuniting the Age of X-Men timelines with the Uncanny X-Men timelines, and I can only hope that when the big X-Men comeback happens, there's going to be another X-Men event, a 2-part event we talked about in the news. Unfortunately, my brain's slipping from me as far as it's a big deal is what it comes down to. I'm hoping he just fixes all of that shit. Guys, I'm so sorry. I talk shit. I don't mean to. I'm going to talk about some mutants that I like a lot. Uncanny X-Men number 15, Legacy 634. This is Forever Part 5. So, here we are. Matthew Rosenberg, Salvador LaRocca, and Guru Effects throwing down colors. I really, really dig this cover of Cyclops, penciled by Salvador LaRocca and colored by Rachel Rosenberg. Alright, so we're back in the bar, celebrating like we were in the last issue. What's the name of this bar? Harry's Hideaway. It actually starts out before we're above ground. We're below ground where we've got Dark Beast, who's pretty much like an evil beast who has spider legs, super brain and all. They're underneath. They're doing some, and by they I mean him and another mutant. I can never remember her name. They're down there, and there's just a wee bit of a bicker, but there's clearly some chemistry being involved. And if you know anything about Beast, not necessarily Dark Beast, but Beast's whole tie into all this thing is there's a vaccine that takes place, and Beast was trying to prevent all of that from happening, so science. Then we go above ground, and we've got Logan and Cyclops and Havoc all having a drink. Harry's Hideaway, their first little mission on Cyclops's list of potential bad mutants has been extinguished. So, like I said, celebrating. Knock on the door. Captain America. That's how issue 14 left off. Open the door. Captain America is like, check it out. I dig y'all. And I know, old Cyclops, you and I, we got some history. And I'm not here to try to squash that. I am here to offer my help, but under the condition that you guys, how you say, shut the fuck up and don't show your faces. I can use your help, but I think you guys would do a whole lot better not being seen, because of the whole, the majority of the population is trying to vaccinate mutants, and it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to, you guys see where I'm going with this, obviously. You get a whole tense moment between Cyclops and Cap again. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. Well, take it or leave it. Well, I might. And Cap leaves. And from there, they get this page, this beep. And they're like, oh shit, we know where the next target of the Mutant Liberation Force is going. And the Mutant Liberation Force is pretty much, well, I guess this generation's Brotherhood. For, I guess would be the best way to say it. They're the bad mutants. So I guess that's how you would relate to it. Being this is all very new and young, for the most part, mutantless universe. So, for time's sake, they will now be called the MLFs, the Mutant Liberation Force. The X-Men show up. Let's go fight them, because bad. And, seemingly, the person leading this is, Hope Summers. That's bad. And she has another target in mind. The whole point, their purpose is to take down this anti-mutant politician. Got him in the sights. Before she can shoot, Cyclops shows up, shoots her in the back. Pew, pew. And then she's like, no, I'm going to shoot you in the face, Cyclops. And Logan's like, partial stab. That's a wound, not a kill. And then she goes to, or as she's shooting, the bullet still goes off, and Cyclops gets shot in the face, and he goes down, and then Logan's on top of her with her claws over her, and she touches him, she doesn't necessarily touch him. The fact is, I believe she has like the rogue kind of thing happening, because her eyes get all reddy and glowy, and she blasts the shit out of Wolverine like Cyclops would. So at some point in time, I actually don't recall the panel where she physically touches Scott, but we'll just, whatever. I'm sure it obviously happens. She shoots him in the, it's because she's fucking family, that's why. Obviously, she's a Summers. She lasers Logan. She's like, oh, cool, got the shot. Goes to shoot the politician lady. A pretty awesomely Cyclops or laser beam fried Logan comes up, and you see some claws coming out through her guts. That's a kill. Cyclops is like, Logan, don't! It's too late, it happened. 6 days later, back at Harry's hideaway. Cyclops wakes up back in, I'm assuming this is under Harry's hideaway, in the lab, and we got Dark Beast. Still being cool, and he's like, oh, check it out. You got shot in the eye. You only have one eye now, Cyclops. Yep. Cyclops only has one eye now. Finally, right? And then he gets like this angry moment, and he goes to laser him with one eye, and Hank's like, oh no, dog, check it out, because you haven't like learned how to focus it all on that side yet. Your head could explode. You should be careful with that. Don't do that. And then the good brother that Alex is comes in, and he's like got his fist to Dark Beast's head, and he's like, I'm gonna havoc your head. And everyone's like, no, don't do that. And thankfully he doesn't, because Dark Beast is like, check it out, I know it seems like I'm still like a bad fucking on, like I still kind of carry that shitty vibe, but we realize this vaccine is not a virus so much as it is a symbiote. And it comes from, I know this is going to sound out of nowhere, but they don't say, it's not Adam Warlock, I don't think, but they just say Warlock. And he divided himself amongst multiple hosts and blah, 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 and like equally amount to the point where if these symbiotic divisions were so divided out that they would be able to take over without killing the host. Well, they found somebody that was able to take a massive dose of the symbiotes to the point where they were able to mash together okay-like. And it turned out this test subject was none other than our boy Jamie Madrox. Multiple man. On account of, for whatever reason. We don't have to worry about him dying too much because of the clones. But it's very, 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 very much a beta test subject, because we meet our first test subject, and his first words are, hello friends, please kill me. Check that out. I mean, like, it's weird, man. It is so weird. It's dark, it's twisted. Yeah, no, it's right. Yeah. I'm still digging Matthew Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men.
Oh, everything you said sounds pretty awesome.
It is. It's them trying to find their way, and still like it's almost like a friendly neighborhood X-Men in an apocalypse setting. Kind of. I don't know how to say it. And not a mutant apocalypse, just like your word apocalypse. Carrying on. Let's move along. Avengers, No Road Home number 8, Legacy 715, Jim Zub, Mark Waid, Al Ewing, Carlo Barberi, and Jesus Arbitrov. I picked up a variant this week, Matteo Scalara and Rain Burrito. It's a fucking sweet variant. Lots of stuff going on here. It starts out with a split panel, top Shadazir, or however you say that scenario, where you got Hercules and Vision and Scarlet and Spectrum watching on as Conan gets taken on by his beloved Belit ghost. And they're like, oh yeah, no. So it's pretty much, actually, this is a Hercules story more than anything. And a lot of this is narrated by Hercules. Then we go over to the planet Euphoria. Now, in issue number 7, it was made out to seem like the planet Euphoria was like oh no, we cool, let's go vacation a bit before we go avenge some more. Nah, you could tell on Hulk's eye the whole time that he had a plan. And sure as shit he does. He's a possessor of one of the 3 shards that Nyx needs. She has one of them already. And he goes to actually face Nyx, thinking that the shard will work in his favor. And she very much makes him think that. And he goes to lay the final blow. And she's like, nah, I command the shard to come back to me and you ain't shit no more, Hulk. And he, like, melts back to Banner. And Banner ain't shit no more. Meanwhile, we go back to Planet Euphoria, or we're still at Planet Euphoria. I will say, kind of backing up a little bit, I can redeem the Hulk Hawkeye bitterness between the two, because both Rocket and Hulk, before Hulk goes to lay that final blow, both the Rocket and Hulk are like, dude, you ain't shit. Maybe you should take off and kind of, we got this. You know, you're really not. And Hawkeye's like, dog, but check it, I did this and this and this. And then Hulk's like, maybe not so puny after all. And that's what he needs to, whatever. So, kind of cool that they got that respect. Hawkeye's got respect from the Hulk. And I'm glad the beef squashed, seemingly. And the whole fight scene between Nyx and Hulk, it's not just like a one and done type of thing. It's a pretty badass scenario. Then we go back to, like I said, Hercules. He relates to Conan in a lot of ways, and that kind of is a motivator for him. And keep in mind, there's 3 different writers here, all telling 3 different parts of a story, or 3 different writers telling 2 different scenarios in a story. So it goes back and forth, but it's all still really fucking cool. And Ozius, the one responsible for making Conan believe that Belit is ghost stabbing him, disperses his entire self amongst all of those Avengers, and they're all experiencing their own version of despair and badness. And eventually Hercules comes to, he's going through it enough, and he's strong enough, in the mind apparently, to where he realizes his purpose, and he's like, nah, dog, I'm stronger than this, let's go fuck some shit up. And carrying on. So 2 more issues in this 10-part series. I feel like this is more of a filler issue throughout the series, but it still laid a lot down at the same time. The art was everything about it. There's nothing creatively I found wrong with it in any way, shape, or form. Cruising along, more Marvel. Like I said, it's a thick Marvel week. We get Conan the Barbarian, number 5, Legacy 280. The captain of the ship of the dead. Sir. This is still very much a Conan book, based on the map that we've been getting on the title page. This time we are all the way up in the Southern Sea. We got Conan on the ship, just drifting and struggling and talking to a sword like it's Wilson. Like, Conan's talking to his sword like it's fucking Tom Hanks and Wilson. Like, dude's hungry. Like, 3 days hungry. Let me tell you how he got there. He's after this treasure. Some sort of totem or whatever. And it's magical, but he don't know that. So in order for him to obtain it properly, he blends his way into the ship. And when the time strikes, attack! And he goes to attack, and the totem comes out, and he's like, I'm just gonna like grab this right here, put it in my pocket. He grabs it, and everything goes dark. Well, when everything's not going dark anymore, he awaken, and sees all these body parts, all these motherfuckers that he didn't kill himself. And he was like, well, they were ripped apart like a beast would. Well, guess what? There's a beast. Got all types of tentacles, and one would say it's almost like a kraken. Not too much for Conan, though. And that's what I love about this. Nothing fucking stops this dude. And he was like, I was about to take out all of these crazy pirate sumbitches to get this little weird thing I didn't even know anything about. And this thing takes them all out instead. And now I'm going to take this thing out. So he does. But for whatever reason, I feel like I missed something reading it. But based off of the context of the remainder of the book, I want to say that when he triggered this totem, there was some sort of curse released. And I guess it makes... Oh, that's what it is. all of the things that died in that, they can't be eaten. So he can't. What the point is, he can't throw them overboard. He goes to throw one of the corpses overboard, and the shark comes up, and he was like, "I'm gonna eat you, motherfucker," and that ain't like how sharks normally act. So he was like, "Oh, these corpses must be cursed." So he has to store them all down below, and as he's starving, he's got all this meat down below. It's human meat, but he's like, "I don't think I should eat these because I don't want to become like that." And he even walks by at one point like the grate, and he was like, "God damn, that fucking stinks." And it is more of him surviving and surviving. But alas, there's a ship in the distance. And he realizes that if the ship invades him, they're probably not going to listen to be like, "Hey, dog, check it out. Like, don't mess with all this stuff because of curse and all. It could fuck shit up." So he's like, I gotta take them on first. Conan says, "I have to take on this whole ship first." and he does. But the thing is there's a rule to the sea. If you take on if you defeat a third of the crew, then the other 2/3 of the crew have to automatically refer to you as their new captain. So he does. He goes in and he's like, "30 of you, bam." And his Conan-y ways, and then alas, they rejoice down at the bottom. Conan isn't starving anymore. He's feasting like a son of a bitch. And Conan wins, like he does. All odds against him. And then we do get a back page where we go back to the creepy little Children of the Corn kids many years later, and they're dragging Conan's body through this layer, singing their creepy little Children of the Corn songs to be continued. Fucking Conan, man. Once again, I expect it's gonna fall off at any point. I mean, not because it's Jason. Or I don't expect at this point it's Jason Aaron. Just once again, I was not a Conan dude. I'm very much a Conan dude now. Very, very much a Conan dude. At least the Jason Aaron Conan dude. I do dig Jerry Duggan Savage sort of Conan. I just don't find it to be as exciting as consistent. I think a lot of that has to do with Muhammad Asar's art. And Matthew Wilson also coloring it again. Matthew Wilson, the same colorer. I said his name earlier, huh? Fucking War of the Realms. I just put that together. What do you know? Carrying on. Spiders. Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, number 7, Legacy, number 47. Shonen Maguire, Takeshi Miyazawa, and Ian Herring. Another Bengal cover. So, I could probably go through this one real quick. Essentially, this is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Gwen. And that's really what this is. She's like, "Oh no, I should probably not spend as much time being a time dimension jumper. And I'm gonna go have a date with Harry. And while I'm having a date with Harry, the waiter comes up, he's like, 'We don't like your kind.' She's like, 'But I'm good now, and everybody knows it.' And she's like, 'But you used to be bad.' And he's like, 'Ma'am, I think you should leave.' And she runs out. And then fucking fire in the disco. And she goes to save the little baby. And then she goes to save the other person, being friendly neighborhood, whatever. And some cop goes to pay her, and she's like, "Oh no, I'll like take money for saving cats, but I don't take money for saving lives." And that is the book. So I do expect a little bit more out of this in the future, being that I'm such a big fan of Spider-Gwen, but I understand why they had to tell this particular story. Because, I mean, it's almost appeasing me in a way, because I said I'm tired of the dimension hopping Spider-Gwen. Let me just get some regular ass Spider-Gwen in the hood. It just turns out that it wasn't really told in a way that normally would grasp me. Not unsubscribing though. Still very, very much into the Spider-Gwen. Still got the crush on the Gwen Stacy. Carrying on. Last Marvel book I'm going to talk about. Aw, spunky. Fucking Punisher. My 2018 book of the year. Punisher number 10, Legacy 236, Matthew Rosenberg, Simon Kredinsky, Antonio Fabella. Warren Begalia Part 5. Frankie B crushing it with the tank. Drew Begalia. All fucked up. Meanwhile, the press is supposed to be thinking that Frank's dead because Chameleon gave Jigsaw a Frankie mask and was publicly executed, air quotes. Meanwhile, someone's confronting Zemo about all that, and they're like, well, no, we heard he's terrorizing the streets. And Zemo's like, nah, that's just some fucked up shit. Meanwhile, in the background, like, you could literally see the explosions of Frank's tank. He's like, no, that ain't shit, don't even worry about it. And Jigsaw's like, you know what? I fucking got this shit. And then we go back to Frank just, seriously, running shit. Just being the Punisher, making his way through shit. And then it's eventually towards the end, Jigsaw shows up, and he's got... He straight up calls out Frank. He's like, dog, you fucked up. The one thing, your one weakness is caring about someone. And who is this person that he cared about? Because everyone he loves is dead, right? Sister Mercy. She that bitch that has pretty much been allowing him to be the man in prison. And when we see Sister Mercy, she's all lassoed up like a fucking goddamn cartoon. And the other end of that lasso is Jigsaw and his super fast motorbike. And he's like, check what I'm about to do, dog. And he fucking does it. He takes off with Sister Mercy tied to the back of that bitch. And that's the implication. It's sad, man. And you get Frankie going like he does, and that's the end of the book. I thought that we were going to get a 5-issue arc here in this War of Begalia. We're clearly getting a 6-issue arc. I'm okay with that. Matthew Rosenberg, I'm going to say it. I said it once. I'm going to confirm it through 10 issues now, is the greatest sumbitch to ever write Punisher. Zymer Krudansky. That dude knows how to pencil some explosions and violence and action and drama to the point where Matthew Rosenberg barely even has to write anything. I mean, it is the Punisher. He's a man of few words. Like, he's practically Batman as far as dialogue goes. But he doesn't... It's just... He captures it so well. Like, you can hear it. And once again, I go back to, if you can hear it, the writer's doing a good job. If you could hear the explosions, the artist is doing a good job. The colorist, Antonio Fabella, dude. I can't... My favorite trio. This is, to me, the Punisher book is the keeper of the holy trinity of comic creators. As far as current books go. Writer, artist, colors. That's all I got from Marvel. One last book I'm going to talk about comes from DC. Another book I was very skeptical about. If you guys have been following the podcast, you know that I have been super wishy-washy on Snyder's Justice League. Started out incredibly amazing to the point where I was like, this is what I want in Justice League. And then Tinian's Legion of Doom, every 5 issues, I was like, this is what the fuck I want. And then I got to a point from like issue 6 through 10, which is like the annual, or 20? 18? Whatever. It's 6 through like the annual. They kept like teaming up and everything, and it was like 2 very brilliant minds with very dense but different writing styles teaming up. It was hard. It was too world building for too long. And then we got to the annual where we got Perpetua, and that explained a lot. And I felt like the storytelling just smoothed out. And I was afraid that was going to be temporary. But I could say at this point in time, I am confident that we got a very linear type of storytelling from here on out. And the next, fucking Scott Snyder, Jorge Jimenez, killing it with this book. We know that I know that Mason, feel free to jump in on this on any time, because I know that you personally inquired to me not too long ago. Actually, I think it was while we were having beers before
what about the
Shazam, the future Justice League.
Yeah, what I really wanted to know was, how does the conversation between future Superman and present Superman go?
Fists. Lots and lots of fists, buddy. I'll let you flip through this while I talk about it, because this book is so inscribed in my brain. If I need it back, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But, so we got... it's weird how it's narrated at first. They mentioned Dimension 3. And I don't know if this is a dimension that future Superman created to imprison Superman. That's where he's at. It's just... the way it's narrated is like, it's weird how things are in Dimension 3. I had a feeling that this was just the dark side of Dimension 6. I'm sure that'll be reiterated on better in the future. Meanwhile, the fact is that we got future Superman and Clark Kent beating the shit out of each other. And we're all under the impression, like, the whole future Justice League is supposedly, like I said, it's all of them in the future. And, well, if future Superman is a thing, that means that, well, there couldn't possibly be a Clark Kent, right? And if there is a Clark Kent, that would mean that future Superman isn't future Superman? Let me get to that. That is what the fuck is going on here. Future Superman isn't exactly future Superman. So as we go back to the future, it's not Hall of Justice, I forget what they call it now, but the future, I'm just going to call it the Hall of Justice. And at this point, Bruce is like, he's sitting there brunching with Dick, who is now future Batman, because Batman is actually the guy that sacrificed himself to allow the Great War to win. And that's all touched on in the last issue. Very briefly, that's all there is to know about that. And Dick's like, ain't this shit cool? Like, all that vitamin D up in your face, you ain't got to worry about stuff. And Bruce is like, you know what? I remember this feeling, but it only lasts me like 10 minutes. Like, I'd be out like 12 hours in the dark, whooping motherfuckers' asses, and I'd look over Gotham and I'd be like, I'm Batman. I'm going to bed. But he'd know that 10 minutes later, as soon as his little cape flutters away, them bad guys coming back. So there was never like a true sense of peace. And as he sits here in this future world, he was like, so wait, like, this feels cool. Like, this feeling has lasted a lot longer than I'm used to. I think I might be cool with all this. Like, future Superman, we cool, dog. Meanwhile, Martian Manhunter's like... Oh, and I will actually say that they touch on Alfred's death, too. They do, Bruce does like, hey, so how'd my boy Alfred die? And he was like, check this out. In a sleep all peacefully, we were all surrounded. So, like, this painting has been beautifully portrayed to Bruce. Like, he's clearly sold on future Justice League. Meanwhile, Martian Manhunter's like, check it out, dog. Emergency psychic meeting. Because if you remember in issue 21, old weird son of Hawkeye and Martian Manhunter, the weird one, the reclusive one, Shane, shows them this weird like blast, and they're like, oh shit, check this out. And that's all we get out of that. Well, now we know at this point what he showed them. And they're like, so fucking, this place isn't what it seems to be. Future Superman, he ain't future Superman. He a dick. And if we don't conform, he's gonna fucking kill us. And, yeah, that's a thing. Meanwhile, back on Earth. Remember how Mxyzptlk was getting ready to fuck shit up? And, he was supposedly under the control, and when he broke control, like, that would mean that he had to take shit to the next level, Holmes. So the thing about Mxyzptlk, if you're not familiar, is anything he imagines comes to light. Well, the fact is that this is a bigger problem than that, because he's unimagining things. And if he unimagines too much, bad things gonna happen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
Yeah, okay. What?
So Jarro, Starman, and Mira are the ones in charge of taking out the almighty Mxyzptlk. And the only reason they know this shit's going on is because of the great and powerful Jarro getting all up in them brain lobes. Because he's a mind reader, if you're not familiar with Jarro. The starfish. He goes, and dude, Jarro's, the dialogue for Jarro, fucking kudos to Snyder for making Jarro like the comedic blunt of this you don't get a whole lot of comedy in a Snyder story lately. I like that Jarro's the deliverer of that. I enjoyed this very, very much. So, they're fighting, and that's pretty much, it's really like a 1.5 page spread, I believe, of them just confirming that he's unimagining, and that's bad. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, future Superman, he interrupts the psychic meeting, and everyone's like, how the fuck did you do that? And he was like, dog, you don't even know. As a matter of fact, like, I was about to tell you all this shit, I just wanted to see how glorious all this was. So here's what the hell's gonna happen. I got a fix to all this. I'm gonna make this beautiful universe you see the actual universe. But in order to do so, we gotta make all the bad shit not be a thing anymore. So we're gonna imprison trillions without trial, essentially. And 90% of the Justice League like, no, we don't roll like that. But Batman's like, Batman.
Because Batman's not, it's not killing anybody.
Well, I think that was why
and he's not just imprisoning them. You gotta point out, he's imprisoning them in a separate dimension.
Well, you get to that later though. That's not revealed where they're in prison until later. At this point, they're the details are very, very broad. But the fact is that Batman's like, you went through that quick. Props. But the fact is that Batman he's reluctant, and because of that whole page of Dick explaining how peaceful things are and the sunshine shining in Gotham, and Bruce has never had this sense of ease in his entire life. He's like, you know what? I'm cool with this. And the Justice League are like, Bruce, you of all people, you're just gonna give up? And he's like, no, you know what? It's not bad. And then we get this giant reveal. So at this point, like I've explained, we obviously know that future Superman is not Clark Kent, future Superman. He is related to Perpetua. He is Perpetua's son.
The first son.
The first son, the brother of the Guardians, is that what they call him? Something like that. Whatever. Fact is that he is very, very determined to stop his mama from fucking shit up, but he's going about things in kind of like a very Vader-esque way. Like, this'll work, bring justice, but not everyone's gonna be happy. Like, but the people that aren't happy probably deserve it.
The guy literally has the ability to create worlds.
And that's the thing, is he created this whole, and he even explains, he's like, dude, actually Clark is cool. Like, I created this whole thing. The fact is, if you guys help me, it'd be super cool if you did. If you don't, though, you guys are gonna be like with the rest of the trillions of prisoners. And unanimously, they're like, you know what? Fuck you. And they go to prison, and they're in this setting that they refer to as like Apocalypse, just way, way, way fucking bigger. And it comes down to they talk to these robotic guards or whatever, and they're like, oh, is Clark dead in here? And they're like, nah, he ain't shit no more, he dead. And then we get the leader of these robot guards.
Ain't really a robot.
It's not a robot. No. It's fucking future Lois Lane. She's like, I killed that motherfucker. Clark is dead 'cause me. End of story. Or at least this part of the story. So, once again, it's been wishy-washy until the annual. This whole Perpetua arc is fucking incredible. The fact that this book was as good as it was with... Alright, here's the deal. I was so excited about this book on account of the tiny, tiny, tiny little teaser that Lex Luthor left in when he and Brainiac were bickering about Mxyzptlk not being able to be contained. And Lex is like, dog, check it out. What if I had my own fucking amp? I thought we were going to get Luthor's imp revealed in this. That's what my hype was about this book. That didn't even happen, and this book was as good as it fucking was. Dude, Justice League is the Justice League that I think we all need. Once again, I will say that there's a lot of ins and outs of this. Like, you almost have to read Dark Knight's Metal to get every single little Snyder whatever. Because really, Dark Knight's Metal was not a Batman book like a lot of people anticipated. It was setting up the reboot of the Justice League. And we got the 6-part mini Justice League series that seemingly that would be a waste of $24. Turned out to be incredibly vital to the reboot of Justice League. And, excuse me, goddamn, here we are. Fucking roller coaster for a dozen or so issues, and we are fucking solid gold now. And now, I guarantee that the next issue, because it is the Legion of Doom next. We got James Tynion IV writing the next Legion of Doom issue. So once again, it's a back and forth type of thing. We get both sides. If we don't get the other version of Luther's Mixelplick, I will eat a corner of a comic book. Right
Not
here.
a valuable one, though.
Well, they're all valuable. That's the thing, is it's gonna hurt so much. It's not gonna be a big corner, but I will take a bite out of a comic book. Enough for you guys all to know that I took a bite out of a comic book. If Legion of Doom does not feature the reveal of Luther's new imp show. Guys, that is the overview segment of this podcast. There was lots and lots and lots and lots of other books that can be talked about, but I'm just going to glance over the other ones that I did read, but didn't necessarily need their own segment, just because they were like quick in and out types of things. Now, I will say that for you longtime listeners, you're like, oh, what about the fucking creator submission? You do those indie comics and shit. Taking a break this week, guys. Only because the current submissions that I have are on a release schedule, and after reading them, I'm afraid that I don't want to reveal anything that hasn't been revealed to the outer public yet. So that's all I'm waiting for there. It will continue next episode in 26, I promise. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about the honorables. Honorable mentions. Couple of DC books I did dig, but I was kind of out of context on a few of them. Or not a few of them. Particularly Green Lantern number 6. I forgot to read number 5. There was a mix-up with the LCS, so I'm out of context. But I will say, it was a very dramatic issue. This is very, very much a Hal Jordan Space Cop Green Lantern thing. There's no doubt about that. Liam Sharp brings it. Grant Morrison writes it. Greg Oliff colors it brilliantly. Green Lantern is a must-read. It's just, like I said, I fucked up and forgot to read 5, so I don't think I can overview that one proper. The other one I actually recently added to my pull list, and I wasn't talking out of my butt when I said that when Justin reviewed Harley Quinn, and I was like, hey, you know what? I might jump back on some Harley Quinn. I did. And this was a very fast issue is what it comes down to. I can't really explain it without, yeah. It was fun. It was Harley Quinn-y. I dug the art. Sam Humphries and Alex Sinclair's colors are always brilliant. But sorry, I will say one thing, the way he drew Harley Quinn, made her look a lot younger than I think she should have. Like, she looked like she was like 19. But once again, I'm not fully familiar with what the timeline that Harley Quinn's story is. It was a very interesting story for sure. It brings up a lot of triggers for Harley.
Well, still, even in even in most Harley Quinn stories, she's still highly educated and it has taken a long time through school.
It's just, well, and that's the only thing that throws me off is that, like, she doesn't seem her attitude isn't young. It's just, you know what, I just want to show you. She's got a very just young face is all. Like, look at any page in there. And, well, not the cover necessarily.
I was gonna say the cover. No, like.
Yeah,
the
no.
cover totally doesn't look young. Oh.
Yeah, she just looks like she's like 19, right? She doesn't look like she's had a long thrown out.
19? You're pushing it with that.
Yeah, well.
Dude, like this is almost 16.
Right, like, yeah.
Like they're pushing lower.
Like I dig it, but at the same time, it just kind of throws me off, is all. Like I know a lot of people are very torn. You're particularly one of those people, Mason, that are torn on the existence of Harley Quinn and how she's been portrayed. But I will say that Harley Quinn has always played a very, very close part to me, just because I think the first bedspread I ever remember having is the Joker and Harley Quinn dancing thing. So I wasn't. I know that you hate I think everybody should hate the romance, the ship between Joker and Harley.
I don't hate the romance. I hate the glorification.
Thank you.
Romance.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And yeah, I hate the glorification of the romance by everybody else.
But I
realize that he's an abusive asshole.
Right. But I've always, it wasn't the Joker Harley relationship that drew me to it. I always thought Harley and herself was a very intriguing character,
yes,
and
absolutely.
I completely 1000% contribute that to the animated series and Tara Strong. Tara Strong's voice, like that's normally like the cringiest fucking accent ever, Mr. J, but Tara just delivers it in this way where you're like, you know what? I think
She does it in a way that Margot Robbie couldn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
Margot Robbie
I mean,
just, like she tries and she really gets close, but she couldn't do it.
No, well, that's the thing is nobody, and even Kaylee Cuoco, she will be the next person to try to take the reins of Harley Quinn's voice. No one, like she is to me, she is the Jack Nicholson of Harley Quinn's. Like no one will ever come as close to that character.
Like we were talking about the other day
as Tara Strong.
Well, we were talking about it's very hard for you to find another voice to replace Mark Hamill as the Joker.
No, no, there is no other voice for the Joker. I mean, as far as voice goes.
Yeah.
And Tara Strong is that person. So anybody that tries to attempt, like you got giant clown shoes to fucking fill. Yeah. And if you don't surpass it, dude, I'm not holding anything against you because that bar is way the hell up here. That's cool. Like, and I will say to this day, like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, I know that you hate. I've really, really enjoyed it because it reminded me of the closest thing you can get to.
I hated her as Harley Quinn. It was that movie.
All right. Well, that I didn't realize. That actually makes me feel a little like I always walk on eggshells when I talk about Suicide Squad around you,
that movie itself.
Because it is my biggest. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. It is my biggest guilty pleasure film in all of films. I love Suicide Squad with all of the awareness of how bad it is cinematically. It's okay. I love that movie, but know how bad it is. But I contribute that
same thing with
to
in the room.
There we go. But I that all comes back to Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie playing the closest thing I think anybody could ever do to recreating Tara Strong's Harley Quinn in the animated series. So that was what that whole fucking rant was about. Fact is, Sam Humphries knows that voice. Like I hear Tara Strong when I read Sam Humphries. So there we go. That was a lot on a fucking honorable mention, huh, man?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, move quicker through the rest.
We're getting the Amazing Spider-Man Hunted side issues or whatever. We got 18-point HU. This one is revolving around I forget what they even call him. He's not an ape. I don't even know. I thought this would be a bigger, deeper issue. I have a feeling it's going to play a bigger part in the Amazing Spider-Man series, but this point HU, I expected more. But I'm still subscribed to the rest because I know it's coming. Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys Marvel history #2. So, after reading the first one, once again, I guess I expected more. Because I know Cosmic Ghost Rider is Donny Cates' baby. And then I realized that Donny Cates isn't writing this. So, you just gotta kind of hold your breath. Well, if I were to have held my breath through this, we would not be at episode 25. But I'm going to read issue 2. Just, it's not on my priority list just because of how off-putting issue 1. It wasn't bad. It's just not what I was expecting it to be. I just felt like they just kept replaying the same scenario 3 times when they have this entire Marvel universe to fuck with. That's probably what it was. The cover is worth picking up alone, though, because it's an amazing homage. Image Comics, The Walking Dead, number 190. One day I'm gonna have somebody fill me in. Fucking, I don't have that kind of time. Who's got that kind of time? Paper Girls, number 27. I realize that this is probably going to be like a bulk read for me. I was very intrigued with Brian K. Vaughan being a writer, or on a series that wasn't Saga, so I was like, I gotta check this shit out. And then I picked up issue 25, and they're like, oh yeah, see you in 6 months. And then 26 came out 6 months later, and I read it, and I was like, oh, okay. I see why people really fucking praise this book, but I'm not sure that I'm the audience for it. So I'm doing this thing where I'm going to wait until like 28 comes out, and I'm going to read 27 and 28 with the context of 26, and then determine from there. It's clearly a very, very highly praised book, and there's a very, very broad audience for it. I'm just not sure that I have the time. So that's all I got for honorable mentions. Keep in mind there's like 36,582 other books that probably came out. But a man only has so much time. So I'm going to talk about the pretty stuff now. The stuff that goes on the wall. And I'm going to start out with a book that I actually talked about at the very beginning, because I decided to take the Wallbook version. Rocko's Modern Afterlife number 1. I grabbed the I believe this is the Jorge Corona version. Now this is an unlocked, it's described as the unlocked retail variant. Now when I ordered the variant, the version variant for this, and I opened up my bag and saw this, I was like, this isn't where I parked my car. But it was still a virgin cover, and it was fucking better. Now, I don't know if this is the connecting cover. It's just, my information is very vague. The fact is, this cover is dope, and will hang proudly on the wall. The next one is Green Lantern number 6. And this fucking variant, it reminds me so much of like a Matina type of style. And it all, if it didn't fuck with my flow of all my Matina stuff goes over here, it would go so next to the Matina Green Lantern cover. But this cover is incredible. Absolutely incredible. The other, well, there's 2 more Wallbooks I have. Fucking Deathstroke 42. This baby is beautiful. We've got, not Tim Drake. What's the other one? I don't know. Turns out there might be, or one of the Robins might be Slade's son. And we got another showdown from those. So I've loved all the homages we've done with all of that stuff. Or all of the covers we've gotten so far. This fucking cover's so beautiful, man. Like from a distance, it seems kind of shadowy and dark. But when you look up close, it's...
No, we'll have to put scans up of all of these.
It looks like a Matina cover, doesn't it?
It's the quality is there.
I can't find the frickin' whatever. Whatever, we'll get to it. Oh, there we go. It is a Matina, obviously, because he has been doing these covers. I should have known that, but I've been tricked.
Yeah, the quality
a couple of
there,
times.
So yeah, that's. I wouldn't know other than everything you've shown me has been just out of this world compared to some of the other covers out there. It's poster quality.
Oh, for sure. That's how Matina rolls, though, for a lot. I mean, for the most part. But I feel like his Deathstroke covers have just been like next level stuff, and a lot of that stuff seem to be the DC covers that spike in value more too. So, and it doesn't always happen as they're released. You know, you don't always know what the print run's going to be. So a lot of times the demand doesn't really spike until a week or 2 after it's released. So, and that's happened more than once with these Matina Deathstroke covers. So who's to say If you find one on your shelf at your LCS, you got to check it out. Last pretty little book I'm going to talk about. Man. So, we know with the War of the Realms, we're going to get a lot of fucking variants. There were a lot of variants for War of the Realms, but we're also getting a lot of Asgardianizations, just like they did with the Venomized. And we're also getting Carnageized covers. Well, we're getting Asgardianized covers. And out of all the ones there were and are to come, there's only one that caught my eye, and it came out this week. And is the Deadpool number 11. And I'll be damned if it isn't Deadpool riding a goddamn axe and a hammer on a rainbow unicorn on the rainbow Bifrost that doesn't exist anymore. It's just fucking pretty, man. That's
all right. Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's all I have for the Wallbooks this week. At this point, let's talk about the best. My favorites. It was a modest week, but there were some bangers, that's for sure. So I'm going to start by talking about the gizzards, the insides. And that is going to go to Rocko's Modern Afterlife. Especially for being a brand new mainstream color artist with Francesco Segala, Matteo Di Meo, and Anthony Birch delivered fucking gold in one of my childhood favorite fucking Nickelodeon cartoons ever. And I could not be happier about that. It almost got Book of the Week, but there was some shit that was just too obvious to take the cake. And my next top book, I'm gonna talk about the shiny stuff, the cover of the week. And you know, I haven't even decided yet, to be perfectly honest. It's what I tell you may not necessarily be the final decision, but you know, you're absolutely right. The Francesco Mattina Deathstroke cover does stand out. That is the one. That is the cover.
Oh yeah.
It will be hung proudly. Overall, the book of the week is fucking War of the Realms, man. I've been waiting for this book for so long, and it left so much room for disappointment because of the anticipation. And not only did it deliver, it delivered with fucking thunder. It was amazing. Death happened. Fucking Fori is a thing. Once again, I'm going to say it, modest but strong. So, at this point, let's talk about what the hype is for next week, huh? Because we don't just stop buying comics now, right? Gotta keep going. So let's do that. Let's talk about the Danger Zone publisher. Zombie Tramp, number 58, Dan Mendoza, Vince Hernandez, and Winston Young. So, I have not been reading Zombie Tramp, but on account of it's already at issue 58, I hear it's some good shit. Continuing on from Boom Studios, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm sorry, Go-Go Power Rangers. The better one. Yeah, I said it. Number 19. Ryan Perot and Eleonora Carlini. These are my Power Rangers. Like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, it's cool and all, but it involves all of the not Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Zach, and Billy Power Rangers. And it just I'm at that age where I got out. Power Rangers weren't cool. And yeah. So, you know what I'm saying. Go-Go is the shit, though. It's so fucking good. I think we're getting ready to get another crossover event, too. I think, what do we have? Tommy was a thing last time. We're going to get fucking, I don't know. It's going to be a thing. You're going to dig it. Carrying on. This one right here is a publisher that I'm not familiar with. But we're going back to, y'all know how I gushed over Rocko's Modern Life being cartoony and all. Well, another cartoon that is burned in my noggin is Rocky and Bullwinkle. And my favorite part of Rocky and Bullwinkle wasn't Bulky and Bullwinkle. It was Stupid Squirrel. Natasha and Boris. And we're getting a Natasha and Boris story. I would only assume that this is a mini event. Once again, done by American Mythology. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be something you might have to pre-order from the LCS. Because they might not order this and have it on the shelf without people. You know what I'm saying, guys. Ooh, fucking Marvel. Coming heavy this week. I have a feeling the structure of 26 might be similar to 25. We'll see. Fucking X-23 number 11, Mariko Tamaki, Diego Arlategui. I love Gabby and Laura so much. We no longer have the Two Walks event, which is the cyborg clone. Genetically fucked up cyborg clone, if you will. But it's I keep saying it every time. I've definitely repeated myself like 11 times. Not all 11 times have been on the podcast. But every time I close an issue of X-23, I'm like, you know what? Kudos Mariko Tamaki for taking over Tom Taylor, who created my favorite new character of this decade. Carrying on, Winter Soldier number 5, Kyle Higgins and Rod Reese. We wrapping up that 5-part miniseries. What's gonna happen with little RJ? I don't know. You should. Oh man, this one, super hype. Super feckin' hype. We get more Web of Venom in that whole mini realm of miniseries. Cult of Carnage, number 1. Frank Thierry and Danilo Beyruth. We all know that Absolute Carnage is a thing on account of C2E2. We're gonna get some... I'm not familiar with these creators, but I know what old Mr. Ryan What's-His-Nuts is doing with Venom, and he has his whole methodical plan. He's not gonna put some chumps on a Web of Venom book, that's for damn sure. So excited. War of the Realms, Journey into Mystery, number 1, Clint McElroy and Andre Araujo. So that weird. This is our first taste of War of the Realms tie-ins. Journey into Mystery is going to be a very, very, very... It's been a long time since you heard that word, right? Well, fucking Kirby... God damn it. I don't know what's going to happen in this, but I know it's going to tie in heavily along with the many other War of the Realms tie-ins. Could not be more excited. Another War of the Realms tie-in. This will be my first time reading Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Number 43, Ryan North and Derek Charm. I've been disappointed that I have not been reading Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, because I will say that she is in my top 3 favorite female Marvel superheroes of all time. And I could say that without reading any of the current volume. Only because, unfortunately, the art just... I feel like this particular volume is driven more towards the younger audience, and it just doesn't catch my eye. But this bitch gonna be in the War of the Realms, and I can only assume that it's going to live up to Jason Aaron's standards of what the fuck this story needs to pertain. I am legit excited to talk about Unbeatable Squirrel Girl for the first time ever. Carrying on, Symbiote Spider-Man number 1, Peter David, Greg Land, and Iban Coelho. I didn't know this was a thing. I could only assume that it has something to do with the fact that in the Hunted arc of Amazing Spider-Man, our Peter Parker is in black suit Spider-Man for whatever reason. I have no idea. I'll tell you later, next week. Carrying on. Marvel Tales, Thanos, Jim Starlin, along with Jim Starlin and a bunch of other motherfuckers. So we're doing the Marvel Tales thing. I haven't been covering any of them, but they're oversized issues that pertain to retellings of great Marvel characters that we all know and love. Apparently, villain or hero. We also have Savage Sword of Conan #4, Jerry Duggan and Ron Garney. I'm going back and forth on Savage Sword. Like I said, I think I got enough Conan in my life. Jason Aaron fulfills my Conan. But Savage Sword is also very intriguing. It all depends on the weight of the week, whether or not I review it. Carrying on. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. #5, Tom Taylor and Jorge Molina. Surprising, like I keep saying the word surprisingly when I bring up the term Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Has my interest. One of my favorite Spider-Man titles out of the 3,000 out there. Captain Marvel #4, Kelly Thompson, Carmen Nunez, Carnero. I'm not reading Captain Marvel. Because once again, if you guys have been following me, I don't like the bitch. It's not a matter of who's writing her or anything like that. I love Kelly Thompson. I just don't like Captain Marvel as a comic book character. Avengers No Road Home #9, Al Ewing, Jim Zub, Mark Waid, and Paco Medina. We are 9/10 of the way through. And we all know shit's going down. Hulk's doing his thing. Fucking digging it. Deadman Logan #6, Ed Brisson, Mike Henderson. We about to be halfway through. I actually thought that this book would have lost me by now. I figured that after issue 3, this is my speculation before even starting the series. I just thought that, and this is no offense to Ed Brisson because I dug what the fuck he did with the first 10 issues teaming up on Uncanny X-Men. Dig your steez, bro. I just thought that we were over Wolverined, and especially over old Wolverined. So I thought I would only be collecting those 12 issues just as a completionist. Turns out, I'm collecting these 12 issues because I really care about this story, and I want to know how the fuck old man Logan did. He gonna die. As Guardians of the Galaxy #8, we get another War of the Realms tie-in. Y'all better believe that I'm fixing to be busy talking about Midgard's destruction. Could not be easily the whole reason, not the whole reason. 97.5% of the reason I jumped onto this series was because I knew it was going to tie in so heavily to the story of War of the Realms. The other 2.95% of that has to do with Throg. But it's here. This is the point I've been waiting for. And as Guardians of the Galaxy in the since issue 6 has been better than it's ever been before, since Yondu came into this motherfucker and he's a flat out good guy. I would love to see Yondu fight some fucking dark elves. My pants just got tight. Amazing Spider-Man #19, Nick Spencer, Gerardo Sandoval. The Hunted continues. I'm hoping. Alright, so when the Hunted arc started, I hyped it like a motherfucker because I was like, oh shit, my favorite issue of Amazing Spider-Man so far. And then I read that back page where Nick Spencer was like, check it out. This was the story that I pitched to Marvel that allowed me to take on the Amazing Spider-Man. That's a big fucking deal because Amazing Spider-Man is, fucking Marvel's baby. Especially after Dan Slott did Marvel's second longest comic book ever next to Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men. Could be wrong about that, but it's definitely within that realm. The fact is the magnitude of what Nick Spencer was taking on. And frankly, it's been Marvel's biggest roller coaster book I have been talking about. And The Hunted, it started at issue 1, and I was like, fuck, this is it. Dig it. I get it. I get why they gave him this book. And then issue 17 happened. I was like, wait. I'm pretty sure they could have wrapped this whole issue up in like the last, just added 2 more pages to issue 16. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Whatever. I get it. That's cool. And then also in that hype page that Nick Spencer put in, that back page explaining why Marvel allowed him to blah 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 blah, he went on to hype up the Point HU miniseries. This is did I mention in the honorable mentions? And you know, I will say I was personally incredibly disappointed based off the hype that Nick Spencer delivered on that back page of issue 16, 17. Now I will also, to be fair, I will say that of the various characters he did explain would be featured in these Point HU editions, varied. And the first one he did say, I was like, who the fuck that be? And that's what this issue was. I just thought that he would have told it a lot harder, being that this was a character that damn near nobody knows about. I'm willing to forgive. So, yeah, that's... I am very excited for the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man based off of the pattern of roller coasteriness, because based off of patterns, this issue should be dope. More Last of Marvel. That was it for Marvel, huh? That was it for Marvel. Let's move on to Image Comics. We do have another very, very, very modest indie week. Oblivion Song. Robert Kirkman, Lorenzo De Felici, and Alicia Leone. Worth a mention, but at this point I am refraining from doing overviews because I'm going to start reading in trade form. I'm collecting single issues just because that's how I roll. But I'm going to start reading in 5-issue splurts. Is this the last one?
Nope.
Not the last one. Murder Falcon. Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. My favorite book in the history of comic books ever. Ever.
I think that's enough to say about it.
So I'm dropping it. Kidding. What's next? DC. Oh, duh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got some DC, don't we? We have Superman. Go up a little bit. I remember. Wonder Woman, that's what it was. 68, G. Willow Wilson, Carrie Nord, and Mick Gray. Highly, highly acclaimed book. I don't have room for it.
Okay.
You should read it. Or anybody else. We got Titans, number 36, Dan Abnett and Bruno Redondo. I'm going to have to read one of the Titans books, whether it's Teen Titans or Titans, I haven't decided. I flipped the coin up like fucking 3 episodes ago, and it's just yet to fall. So, when it falls, I'll let you know. Superman, number 10, Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Prado, Ivan Reis, my surprise character of the year. Dig me some Superman. Fucking keep reading it. There's so much going on. Scooby-Doo Apocalypse number 36. J.M. DeMatteis, Heath Hawthorne, Matt O'Leaf, and a few others. I will take accountability on the doom of this book. I added it to my pull list. Next day, DC was like, we ended it. No more Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. I thought, alright, so initially when this book came out, and this is the last time I'll get to explain this, I promise, because there's no more. Initially when this book came out, I was like, that sounds intriguing, but I bet DC drops it after 4 issues. 36 issues later, or I take that back. 33 issues later, I was like, dog, I hear Shaggy knocked out Velma. I'm gonna read that shit. Next day, DC was like, no, we gonna drop it.
You don't think it's possible that the dropping of it had to do more with Shaggy knocking out Velma than you picking it up?
We'll find out in this issue. But I'm pretty sure I have this curse. When I go a long, long time without picking up a book, and then I finally pick it up, it ends. It happened with Hellboy. It happened with more books than I can count. But Scooby-Doo Apocalypse was definitely the book that made me realize that I may, in fact, be cursed. So,
okay.
My bad. Red Hood Outlaw number 33, Scott Lobdell and Pete Woods. Fucking, I need to read me some Red Hood. I might have room, actually, this week. I might. Justice League Odyssey, number 8, Dan Abnett, Daniel Sampere, and Juan Albarran. So out of all of the Justice League books, this is the only one I'm not personally subscribed to. So my curse continues. From what I understand, and based off the consensus of critics, a lot of people say this is, out of all the Justice League titles, the best one. I haven't read it. You be the judge. You should read it. Flash, number 68, Joshua Williamson and Christian Deuce. I try to taste the Flash. It's I'm not on board personally. Very, I mean, we're through 68 issues. I ain't dropping this bitch. Fucking Detective Comics, number 1001. That's not binary code. That is an actual fucking number. You know, a couple weeks ago, last week, last week we celebrated 1,000 issues. It's kind of a big deal, huh? 80 years. Here we are, Peter J. Tomasi, Brad Walker, and Andrew Hennessy. The Medieval Knight is canon. I'll bet you 13.5 rupees that we get a mention of the Medieval Knight in this. Catwoman, number 10, Joelle Jones, Fernando Blanco. I respects that Joelle Jones took the weight off her own shoulders and isn't drawing anymore. I dig her steez. Catwoman has been a book that I have collected so far all 9 issues of, soon to be 10. I can say that I have read the first issue. And I stopped, not because I didn't enjoy where it was going, only because it comes out usually on a heavy week. The pattern and system seem to have changed. The fact that I keep collecting has to do with the variant covers. And I'm not the art germ fanatic that a lot of people are. I get it. But his Catwoman, we get another one. I'm going to get 10 fucking wall books of Catwoman art germ, all on the same wall. Batman Who Laughs, number 4, Scott Snyder and Jock. That's Jock, not Ock. Fucking goddamn. And Care Andrews is doing a variant. I am so intrigued by the Batman Who Laughs. It's not even funny. Hold on. What? No pun intended, I promise. Fucking goddamn, is there some shit to be excited for next week, guys? I go to your LCS. Buy a book, or 15, or 20, or whatever you can afford to give them. Keep those brick and mortars going. You're not within 50 miles of an LCS. Keep there's plenty of resources. There's no excuse. I just showed you Midtown Comics. That's what I got all my information off of. There's so many reasons to... No excuses is what I mean to say. No excuses. Read a goddamn comic book. It'll change your life. Man. Mason, do you have anything? Is there anything that you're super excited about based off of what I said? You're going to be here from now on. You are officially a thing.
I'm scared. I'm excited to see more of where that Justice League story goes.
Yeah?
Definitely excited to see more of where the Justice League story goes. Definitely excited to see more of where the Rocko's modern afterlife goes. Definitely excited to see more of where War of the Realms goes.
Yeah, so we got 3 War of the Realms tie-ins next week. We got Journey into Mystery, Squirrel Girl, and I know there was another one. Fucking whatever it was. There's 3 of them.
But yeah, those are the ones I'm really kind of
as Guardians of the Galaxy
about,
story.
Is just really War of the Realms and the new Justice League and Rocko's modern afterlife.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Rocko was my first number 1 pick of the week. That is one thing I forgot to throw in my picks of the week. I like to throw in a book that I was reading for the first time, a title that I've never read before. And Rocko's Modern Life was obviously the one. But next week, my most anticipated book does belong to a War of the Realms. I have a feeling it's going to be a theme. Fucking Journey into Mystery, dude. I am so excited to see a new creative team to me telling... Enough said. Flat out. I don't know what else there is to say besides get excited about comics, guys. You know where to find and listen. The Twitters is where I like to talk the most. So that's your best chance of getting a hold of me. Come at me. Troll me. I take your criticism wholeheartedly. So, yes, no, please. I don't know what else to say, man. Thank you to the buzz of the evening. Fucking got a Lava Lake from Crazy Mountain. And, yeah, guys, read responsibly. I thank you so much for joining me. Cheers. Ran out of beer.